We are very pleased to welcome you. I will not talk a lot, so be reassured. So I'm just hosting. As you know, I'm an employment lawyer, so this kind of subject does interest me a lot because when we advise our clients, there are always payroll issues, and lately, of course, we had a lot of questions about the prélèvement à la source, so which is the topic of today. And I try to refer the questions to Thomas now. I met Thomas, I think, last year or 2 years ago when he joined ABIE, and he's a real expert in payroll, so he's very reliable in his advice, so that's very nice to know. So he will do the presentation today. Thank you for doing this presentation for us, and on behalf of ABIE, thank you for co-organizing this event. I hope it will be of interest for you, and so enjoy. Help yourself with coffee and viennoiserie, and so if you have any question, that's fine. Thank you.
Well, thank you everyone for attending this event. Well, I'm Thomas Bidou. I'm founder and CEO of French Payroll Expert. As the name stated, I do payroll, French payroll for foreign companies. And one of the main topics we had recently was the prélèvement à la source, known in France as PAYE, and in Australia as pay-as-you-earn pay. So, shall we? So, I split this presentation in 4 main topics: the mechanism, the basis of the PAYE, the PAYE being an income tax, obviously the rate, which is quite important, and the consequences for the employer. So the mechanism of the PAYE. First, the objective. Those are the official objective of the PAYE. Remove the 1-year lag between declaration and actual payment of the revenue, immediate consideration of change in the situation of the taxpayer, and avoid cash flow difficulty when you have at the end of the year to pay reliquat of income tax. Those are the official reason for the PAYE. To be fair, the unofficial reason is just that the states, being on budget, want to know exactly what they can spend each month, and the PAYE helps a lot in that regard. So that's the unofficial reason. We're still on the objective. The slide hasn't changed. There it is. Okay, so what changes really? The only thing that really changed with the PAYE is the mode of recovery of the income tax. Basically, how you pay your tax change. What does not change is the calculation and the reporting obligation. Basically, you'll still pay the same amount of tax, and you still have to do your yearly declaration within April, May. Okay. That does not change. Be very careful about that. Okay, how does the PAYE work? How is it structured? You have 2 types of PAYE. You have first the effective PAYE, which is monthly one, deduced from the wages, payslip basically, the pensions, automatically deduced from the retirement fund. They deduce the PAYE out of your pension automatically. Free of charge life immunity and unemployment benefits, and statutory sick pay and taxable portion of severance pay. Those are much rarer than the previous. The other structure of PAYE is monthly or quarterly advance payment. Basically, those are amounts that you collect yourself as revenue, but who are not provided to you by a third-party payer. That will be your business profits, income managed on associated referred to article of the CGI, the land income, the alimonies, the life annuities, and the foreign source of income taxable in France. Those are not literally prélèvement à la source, PAYE. They are advance payment based on your previous declaration. For those there will be adjustment. For the PAYE, there will not be adjustment. process. Process, it's basically a cycle. The administration, at the top of the cycle, as I might say, it provides to the company or the pension funds the rates of the income tax to be used by the employer or the pension fund to collect the income tax. Then the pension fund or the company send the payslip, or shall we say, the revenue to the employee with the deduction and send back the deduction to the fiscal authority. Then the taxpayer, the employee or the retiree, reports to the administration yearly his income so that the administration can calculate the income tax rate. The administration send back the notification of, well, the send back, not exactly. Basically, they made available the notification of what has been deduced from your payslip on your pension. And should there be a balance, the employee, taxpayer, must pay the balance to the fiscal authority. Balance is rare, but it exists. Be very careful about that for each situation. If you don't pay your balance automatically, it will be a fine. Okay, the timing. Well, at the moment, we are here. What we did previously is declare our income tax for the year first 2017. Then there were some prefiguration of the income tax withholding on the payslip. And now, as of January, for the first payslip of the year, the income tax has been withheld from the payslip or from your pension. In April to June, you will still have to make your revenue declaration. Be very careful about that. It is mandatory, despite the fact that you are already paying your tax. Since you will do a declaration since you did a declaration in it's a bit complicated and confusing because we go from 1 year delay to no delay. Basically, in September, in theory, the administration will have used your declaration made from April to June. I think in theory, to be honest, nobody knows if they will have the resources to analyze all the declaration. And then your rate will be modified depending on your declaration, your income rate. Then,
can I ask a question?
Of course.
So in April, June 2019, we'll do a tax return for 2018 year.
Yeah.
So next, if we get the change in rates, say if we overpaid between January and September, are we going to get a refund from the French taxation authority? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I understand perfectly.
Between 2018 and 2019?
Yes, you will, should your rate be lower, and you will have to make compensations should your rate be higher. But the difference will be limited if the fiscal authority is truly able to provide you with your new income tax rate as of September. It will only be from January to August that will be a difference in your actual rate. We'll come to that a bit later. I have another slide there. Then on 2020, we'll make our 2019 new income declaration. Then, that's what I mentioned. If the total sum of the tax is under the withholding tax is higher than the tax final due, then you will have a refund. But it will only happen in the summer of 2020. Basically, when they have analyzed your 2019 payment and your 2019 declaration. And on the opposite case, if you should have paid more than you did pay, there will be an automatic adjustment of your payment made if it exceeds 300 euros. So the tax amount, are we going to pay more taxes? No. I can go through all the text, but basically it just wrote a big no. You won't pay any more taxes than you would have had we not gone through the withholding of income tax. The real difference is that you will pay your tax on 12 months instead of paying it on 10 months. So if you already paid your tax monthly, your monthly withholding will be lower than what you did pay on a monthly basis, but will be on 12 months instead of 10 months. And if you pay quarterly, as you can see, the difference will be the same. It will be only on 12 months instead of 9 plus. And the global amount will be the same, but the actual monthly deduction will make it more accessible, let's say, to most people. So, what are the targeted incomes, basically? So you have the income of the employee and assumed employee, basically everything that is paid by a third party. Third party known to the administration, fiscal administration as a third party payer. That means the employer, the pension fund, this kind of elements. So you have the wages, the retirement, the premium, and the unemployment benefit. The tax is automatically withheld. And the levy is calculated by the administration. That's always the case anyway. Income of self-employed or assimilated. So you have trader, liberals, and farmers. But as I said previously, it's not literally withholding. It's an advance payment, un acompte en français. And the land income, it's exactly the same way. If you are a landowner, you receive income from your locataire, sorry, my English is a bit limited, and you pay a monthly installment on that.
Sorry, Thomas, I missed that.
A monthly advance payment.
Okay.
Well, the difference is that, as we would say in France, the advance payment n'est pas libératoire. So it's, I don't exactly know how to translate it in English, sorry. Basically, you still have to adjust your payment when you make an advance payment. Be very careful of what you collect and what was withheld by what you pay to the administration. There might be a difference. Let's say you increase your rental during the year, you will have more to pay than you already paid to the fiscal administration. So you will have to make the adjustment. But it's made with your yearly declaration. But it's something to keep in mind if your income increases. I'm sorry. Those are the rates. I say rates, plural. There's a really good reason to say. We have two types of rates. Remember, those rates are mostly the ones you will have on the element withheld by a third-party payer, such as pension fund and employer. You have the personalized rate. Personalized rate is a rate directly, the result of this rate is directly out of your income tax declaration. Within this personalized rate, you have two types of rates. The individualized rate, which is the rate for one individual. My rate, your rate, yours. And then you have the household rate. Remember that in France, declarations are made by the household, not by the individual. When you are married, you make one declaration for two individuals. Well, you can have whether a personal rate, one for yourself and one for your spouse, or a household rate, global rate for the whole family. And for non-taxable employees or retired people, you have a zero rate that does exist quite a lot in France. And you have the non-personalized rate. Non-personalized rate can come in two cases. First, you decided to not allow the fiscal administration to provide your rate to the third-party payer, the employer or the pension fund. Then you have a non-personalized rate, which is the equivalent rate of a single adult without any children. Basically, what it does is that it does not provide any information to the third-party payer of your other income that you might have. And also for first-time taxpayer who never declared anything to the fiscal administration, you have a new employee or people who just left school and got their first job, or foreign employees, who just came to France and haven't made any declaration and are French fiscal resident. It's important as well. Those are the two cases when you have a non-personalized rate. The rate calculation. Okay, I think I won't just read the presentation, you have it. But basically, begin in your Y, sorry. The rate applied is the rate of Y minus 2. Basically in 2019, we start paying based on the rate of 2017. Then we'll start paying on the rate of 2018 as of September, if you remember the previous slide. Well, the calculation of the rate levy is quite simple. Basically, your income divided by your income tax rate divided by your income. It's the basic calculation. I think that's so. Whether you have a personalized rate or not, the rate obviously will change. Whether it will be your own or basic one that no one will know where it comes from. The personalized rates. As I told you, we have two types of personalized rate, the household rate or the individualized rate. The purpose is that if you have a family with only, well, not with only one person working, but with two persons paying taxes out of their income, one may have a higher salary than the other and therefore a higher rate. If you have a global household rate, everyone pays the same rate, and the one with the lower income may find in some difficulties or at least having lower net income at the end. In order to prevent that, you can have a personalized rate for each member of the family. The total global pay will be exactly the same thing. It will just be spread differently within the two members of the couple. The neutral rate. Well, some of you have been in France for some time and you know the French spirit about income and money in general. We are very shy about it and we don't like people to know what we earn. So in order to prevent employers or pension fund or any other third-party payer of the income tax to know what you earn as a global income, because based on the rate you could make some deduction, the fiscal authority created the neutral rate. It's a rate based, as I told you previously, on the income of a single individual without any children. Based on the income you have, you'll have a specific rate. I did not provide you with the table of the rate because, to be fair, at the time I did the declaration, it was not, I did it in 2018. The rate was not yet known. But if you want the rate, don't hesitate to send me an email and I will provide you with a table. Basically from, I think, 0 to 1,100 euros, there is no rate, and then it increases based on the slice of your salary, basically, or your pension. This is to make sure that nobody knows your real income. There is also, this rate is also used for new joiners in a company, for example, or a new joiner in the fiscal system, as I previously told you, students that just got their first work, or foreign employees coming to France. Basically, the fiscal administration has no data on them, or the employer has no data on them. Let's say you just joined the company. How does the company know your income tax rate? the company provides every month a DSN, Déclaration Sociale Nominative, to the authorities at large. I mean, the Social Security, the retirement, the unemployment, your life and health insurance, and the fiscal authority. This DSN allows the fiscal authority to know who is employed by which company. In return, the fiscal authority sends a file who say for such employee, such rate to be used. Okay. But if you have a newcomer, a new employee, you never declared him on any DSN yet, but you still have to make a declaration. You have two ways to make the proper withholding on the payslip. First way is to use the neutral rate. So basically not the actual rate of the employee. The second option is to use the topaz system. Basically your payroll provider, such as myself, will provide the fiscal authority with a file including the name of the employee, of the newcomer, and the social security number. Provide this through the Net Entreprise website, and the fiscal authority will return us a file with the rate of the employee. The process takes about 24 hours. When you have a newcomer in your company, don't hesitate to ask your provider to go through this process. As it is brand new, just started in January, not everyone knows about it. It works fine. I've been using it for over a month now, and we usually have got good results. There are two conditions to have good result. You must have the social security number of your employee, otherwise you won't have a return from the fiscal authority. And your company must be known by the fiscal authority. If you just created your company, let's say you created your company on the 2nd of January and you hire your first employee on the 2nd of January, this system won't be usable because the fiscal authority won't know your company, they won't know your SIRET number yet, and so they won't be able to make the correlation between the company and the employee. Okay, one of the advantages, say, of the withholding of income tax is that you can change your tax rate based on your situation. Let's say you get married, you will have a different rate. Not only do you have two incomes to declare now, but with a couple does not have the same rate as a basic individual. You have a child, you divorce, everything changes. You can have your rate adjusted, let's say automatically or immediately. To do that, you need to make a declaration on the impot.gouv.fr website. Everyone must have nowadays an account on this website. Every company, every employee, every individual. Otherwise, you cannot manage your income tax anymore without this website, which causes some problem for almost senior member of society. And so you declare change in your family status. Change must be declared. So it's not just that you can declare that you must declare the change, that you have your income tax rate adjusted. The purpose is for the administration to don't have to give you back what you paid then, should you have a deduction. The changes to be declared are marriage, death of a spouse, or a civil partner, divorcing, and the increase of the family with new birth of adoption or adoption. You must declare those changes within 60 days. The rate modulation. Without any changes in your family situation, your income may change. And you may not want, and I don't recommend it, to keep your normal, the rate the administration knows of, and then make an adjustment at the end of the year. That would be not pointless, but going against the purpose of the withholding of income tax. So you can ask for a change of your rate. If you ask for an increase of your rate because your income has increased as well, you just ask for it. Nobody is going to request any explanation on the increase of your rate. That sounds obvious, but let's say it. However, you can also ask for a decrease of your rate. For example, you just lost your job and you know that your income will be much lower for the rest of the year. You can ask for a deduction of your rate. However, be extra careful for that. First of all, the difference must be at least of 10% of your income or 200 euros of the levies amount. And you must, let's say, prove your loss of income. And if you make a false declaration or a mistake in your declaration, there will be a penalty of 10%, which is not negligible. There is a tool, a simulation tool, to make your adjustment on the impo.gov.fr website. Really be very careful when you use it. You could make a print screen of the calculation of the simulation and say, oh, I made it out of good faith. See, this is the simulation I made. They won't take it into consideration. When you make a declaration of adjustment, make sure you are right about your declaration. And should you notice that you were wrong, don't hesitate to ask for an increase and to contact the administration ahead of time. You may be able to cancel the penalties. Although, to be fair, the fiscal administration is much tougher in that regard than any social administration such as yourself. Be extra careful.
Question?
Yes.
If you have an increase in the income, do you have to declare it during the year? And
No, it's not mandatory.
And you have no interest in doing so?
It depends on your situation, and if you know that you will have the resources to pay the adjustment, it may not be in your interest. If you don't think you may not have the full resources to pay in one go the adjustment, then you may want to have it paid monthly. It really depends on the personal situation of the individual.
Okay.
Let's say you go from a 0 rate to a 2.7% rate, that might be difficult to pay the adjustment at the end of the year. Specific cases. Those ones are more payroll related than anything else. Trainees and apprentices. Basically, they should not be subject to income tax. Not only do they have low income, but also there is a specific deduction for them in that regard. However, they may be subject to income tax for other reason, or because your company is such a nice company that you pay more than the minimum requirement. That's why on the payslip you will see a specific comment that is the potential net fiscal remuneration. Basically what we do is that we accrue the net income tax of the trainees or the apprentice. We accrue the net income tax that will be displayed on the payslip. Should this net income tax exceed the maximum deductible amount from the net income tax, then there will be withholding tax. So you may want to tell your trainee, be careful about that, make some calculation or request calculation from your provider to see when within the year at such income he may be taxable to withholding of income tax. That's something, usually trainees and apprentices are young, and it's usually a bad surprise when you're young that you discover that you must pay tax. I know from personal experience that I was not in the habit of saving in order to pay my taxes when I was young. Second specific case, short-term contract. It's quite specific to some activities. You may have short-term contracts that are for 2 days, 1 day, a week. We are still on sales at the moment, and a lot of retail stores hire short-term contract for this period. They have a specific deduction of 50% of the SMIC, which is a minimum wage in France, taxable net. Short-term contracts, so basically the net income tax is reduced of, I think it's a little less than 600 euros, basically. So they may be under the threshold of withholding income tax. And also short-term contract, what is a short-term contract for the fiscal authority is a contract of less than 2 months or with an indefinite term. Indefinite term is when you got a sick employee, for example, and you hire someone to replace this employee, but this employee does not have a return date from a sick leave. Or let's say it's a maternity leave, and the employee, after her maternity, takes a parental leave. You hired someone to replace the employee. You don't know when the parental leave will effectively end. You may have an indefinite term contract. And those come under the label of short-term contracts. Be also careful when I say a 2 months contract. There are some questions to which I don't have the answer yet of what is 2 months contract. At the beginning of the system, of the withholding tax system, everyone said 2 months contract was not literally 60 days, it was 2 payslips. Basically, if I hire someone on the 31st of January and for a 2 days contract ending on the 1st of February, that is a 2 months contract, because the payslip is spread over 2 months. However, to this day, be honest, I don't know if this interpretation by the fiscal authority of a 2 months contract still holds. And then we have new employee. Well, new employee, I think I already said a lot about them. Their rate is the neutral rate, but we can have their personal rate through the TOFA system. For the employer, the main role of the employer is to pay the income tax. Basically, we just collect out of the employees in net income and give back to the fiscal authority. In order to do that, we go through the DSN, Déclaration Sociale Nominative, as I already mentioned. Every month, a company must declare a lot of information to a lot of authorities. To simplify the system, that was a couple of years ago, the administration introduced the DSN system. It's an automatic system, goes through the Net Entreprise website. It's a TXT file, basically, we send to the authority on a specific format, which include all the information about the company changes, the employee and the changes, and all the revenue, gross, net, and all the declaration. Within this file, there is information about the net income tax and the income tax withheld. So the declaration must be done for company over 50 employees by the 5th of the month following the payslip, for company under 50 employees by the 15th of the month following the payslip. Payment is to be done by the company through direct debit to the fiscal administration for companies over 50 employees by the 8th of the following month, for company under 15 employees by the 18th of the month following the payslip. It can be done quarterly for employees under 11 employees. Basically, if you are allowed to pay your USAF declaration on a quarterly basis, the fiscal administration allows you to pay the withholding tax on a quarterly basis as well. And just what I said here about the quarterly payment of the income tax. On the payslip, basically, is just one more contribution row. You have all read the French payslip with so many nice rows, and it's will be one more that comes below the net income tax. It must show the basis of the rate of the tax, the rate, whether it is personalized or not, and with a label that says whether it is personalized or not, and the amount deducted from the payslip. You must also show to the employee what he would have earned had he not been withheld any income tax. And the deduction is made each month by the employer, mentioned on the payslip, and this payment is accessible to the employee on his impôt.gov.fr website. Basically, when you log on your impôt.gov.fr website, you can see what was withheld from your payslip, which is interesting if you have multiple employers within the year or multiple employers each month. You may want to know what income was deduced from what third-party payer, employer, or pension. At the moment, if you go on your website, you won't find the January withheld income, because the declaration, the DSN, is only to be made on the 15th, which is tomorrow. So it's not yet accessible to the fiscal administration, and therefore it is not yet on the website. To be honest, I don't know at what speed the administration will be able to manage all the DSN and provide the information. Since it is supposed to be an automated system, it should be quite quick, but this is still the French administration. I will recommend caution and patience. This is the sample of a payslip and how we will show on a payslip. So you have the mention of the net to be paid before the income, the income tax, sorry. You have, this specific row has been there since October, it's not related to the income tax. And then you have the income tax, basically the basis. As you can see, the basis of the income tax is not the same as the income to be paid should there not have been any withholding of income tax. This is the net income tax, which is different than the net to be paid. It is the gross minus part of the employee contribution plus the employer contribution to health insurance. Don't hesitate to ask questions to your provider about the calculation of the net income tax. It's not that complicated, well, it's not to Payroll Expert, so it should be able to inform you on that detail. And you have the rate, obviously, and you have the amount. Notice that on this payslip, this is the taux non personnalisé, which is the non-personalized rate. So this rate of 18% is not the rate of the individual. It is the rate collected out of the chart provided by the fiscal authority based on the net income tax. And then you have the net to be paid. Okay, you can see on this presentation that the net to be paid before income tax and the net to be paid after income tax are the same. This presentation was created in 2018 when we only had the prefiguration of the income tax on the payslip. That's why. Sorry, I did not update that page. The payment. One very extremely important thing to know about payment, it must be done to the fiscal authority by direct debit of the company's account. Therefore, you must have a SEPA mandate compatible B2B with the fiscal authority. This mandate must have been used previously within the 36 previous months. This is the same mandate you will be using for paying your corporate tax or VAT or any other tax you pay to the fiscal authority, which was a question for companies abroad who have employees in France but no French bank account. Let's say we have an Australian company with a representative in France. They declared to be a company without a fixed establishment in France. Therefore, they have a SIRET number, a NAF number, an employee under French law, paying French contribution, a French payslip, but they don't have any income to be paid to the French fiscal authority. They don't have a French bank account. Since they are not within the EU, they don't have a SEPA bank account, and even less a SEPA bank account compatible B2B. How do you manage that? That was one of the questions, and basically there's only one answer. You need a fiscal representative in France. This is a third-party payer. It's a regulated profession, so not everyone can do it. be sure to hire the proper individual with the proper credential. You hire him and he pays on your behalf the withholding of income tax out of his company's account. This is extremely important, and to be fair, if you have a foreign company hiring someone in France and you have not done it yet, it's too late. Declaration is to be done tomorrow. I don't suspect you will be able to find a fiscal representative able to help you within that time delay, because fiscal representative being responsible for payment of the tax should not pay tax. They will be reliable of the payment, and therefore they will have to pay the tax despite the fact that you did not provide them the funds. So they make a very thorough inquiry about your company to make sure they don't be in debt with the fiscal authority. But the fiscal authority knew that this was going to be a problem, and they said they would be flexible about the delay of the payment. So don't hesitate to act quickly as of now.
And this applies to every non-EU company or
To every
French?
Every company.
Every company.
Every company hiring people under French law.
Okay.
People who are French fiscal resident, which is also very important. And to be perfectly honest, if you have an employee in France, but they are not fiscal resident, French fiscal resident, or they have a zero rate, you don't need that. Basically, you only need it if you have to pay withhold income tax. And the payment, well, that's exactly just what I said about the SEPA mandate. Sorry, I went a bit ahead of the presentation. And that's it for me. Thank you for listening. I'm a bit quick, that it? I'm sorry.
No. I have so many questions.
Oh, please.
Okay. Solidarity, that tax on solidarity, how is that paid?
What do you mean by
You know,
tax?
that 17% that I have real estate, and everything has a plus 17%.
Oh, there's CG,
Yes, exactly.
CG, absolutely. It is paid differently. Since it is not literally a tax but a contribution, it does not fall under the withholding of income tax.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. So it needs to be paid separately from the rest of the income.
And how is it paid separately?
The same way it was previously, so you make your declaration of income and you have a quarterly payment, I think that's it.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to be paid, yes.
Mm-hmm. Also for individuals, like me, has sort of a source of money coming from, which varies and not a lot. How can you balance this variation? It can't really be done.
I tend to agree with you, it can't really be done. First step is for you, can you make an estimate of what your income will be? So if you can make an estimate, then this is the estimate you must provide to the fiscal authority through the website.
But that's sort of, you know, you have a tenant who moves out suddenly,
Yeah.
and you could have 3 months or 4 months without anyone there.
Mhm.
How can you estimate? How can you anticipate
Then
that?
in this case, you can make a declaration through the website saying that you have one less tenant, and then you will come, will fall from that to that, and request that the advance payment, remember, for this kind of income, it's not withholding, it's an advance payment.
Yes.
You can change the amount of your advance payment based on that. They managed to set up a system in order for you to adjust. Basically, the adjustment will be, I think it's limited to 3 months, so be careful about that. You can say, please stop the advance payment on this revenue for that duration.
Saying if you sell something.
If you sell something, yet you can say, I sold the goods, the apartment,
Yeah.
please stop the income, the advance payment on that revenue.
And Thomas, the other thing is the whole thing is based on the fact that the magic of internet is going to work beautifully. There'll be no glitches. We know there are.
Yes, we have.
So,
The The fiscal administration at the moment is quite open, so it's brand new for them as well. Don't hesitate to request their assistance. They hired a lot of people to make it work. They are hard to get a hold on.
They're hard
to get a hold on them.
Oh, yeah.
Even on the phone, they do answer, but not as efficiently as we would have expected. But really, it's on this occasion, fiscal authority is our best friend. And but you're right. Without
the accountant is your best friend.
yeah, the accountant is your best friend, but that's part of the problem. Unless he has a very specific proxy for that, you cannot do most of the process for you. I don't know how you work on that, but I know. Well, I'm not a chartered accountant, but I know on my own situation, I can do very little for my clients in direct access to the website. If they give me their number, their login and their password, I can do it. But the legality of it is limited. I don't have the proper power of attorney to do that. And for the employee, that's 100% sure that I will never do it. There's too much risk involved. So I don't know really about your chartered accountant. Since this is a regulated profession, they may be able to legally access your account and manage your account. Then they will be the most appropriate advisor to see how to cancel an advance payment on a specific income.
And if you don't declare a sudden rise in your tax, you just pay it at the end of the year.
Yes. Well, it will be in summer of the previous year, but yes.
So can I just put the timeline together, for example? Say, for example, in 2017, we took parental leave for a few months, so our income was lower than it would ordinarily be. That means this year we're paying a rate that is lower than it should be.
Yes.
And that will be 2020 before we correct that. Is that right?
Yes and no. The rate. No, you must understand that there are two things involved. First, it is the rate, and then it is the payment. In September, you should have an adjustment of your rate.
But that rate will be the correct rate, or will it be higher than normal to catch up for all the months that I was paying less?
No, it will be the normal rate.
The normal rate, so
yes.
there will still be a shortfall to be paid the following...
Absolutely, if it exceeds, I think it was 300 euros, if it exceeds 300 euros, you will have to pay the balance, yes.
And if it's less than 300, they just write it up?
That's a theory, but this is still a French administration, to be honest. I have very little hope that they would just forgive it.
I have a question.
Of course.
They say the 2018 year is a tax-free year because the rate that we're using now is calculated on 17. We will do an 18 return, but then they're already taking the money. The money that they're taking now, which actual year is that for? Is this for 19? And if so, the money that someone may have put aside for 18 as they went along, waiting to then just pay it when it comes. Can I go shopping with that? I need to get.
We have a few days left on the sale, so yes.
So yes.
No, but once again, my answer will be yes and no.
Yeah, everyone keeps telling me that.
Basically, yes. 2018 is a free tax year. The tax we are paying at the moment is the tax on 2019. So we haven't paid our tax in 2018, and we should not pay our tax in 2018. However, there are some exceptions. Basically, on the exceptional revenue. Let's say your employer gave you a bonus. Okay, you did a good job, this is an exceptional bonus, you got 2,000 more euros of income. As it is exceptional, in your declaration to be done before June, you will have to label it exceptional, and you will pay a specific income on that revenue. Then again, you make your declaration. And the employer may not have labeled it as exceptional, but let's say commission. then you can say it's normal, it's just a commission out of my work. Good for you. Okay, be extra careful also. Some people try to take benefit of that free tax year, and a bonus that should have been paid in December 2017 was paid in January 2018 because everyone thought it would be a free tax year. This payment should have been made in December. It is exceptional that it was made in January. You must pay tax on it. And the same way, people who thought they would be moving a bonus that would be paid in January 2019 on December 2018 does not work.
So, just a question on how exceptional is defined.
Not in the employment contract.
And but that mean if it's regular and the same sort of every year, will that effectively mean that you have to pay more tax?
No, because if it is regular
It's
over
regular,
the year,
not
it became
contractual.
usage. And then if it is usage per se, per the French labor law, un usage d'entreprise, then it is considered as written, although it is not written. So it won't be included into the exceptional payment. Let's say you give every year yearly bonus to your employee, but it's not written in the employment contract. If you have done it for, I think, more than two or 3 years, regularly, basically, then it's not exceptional. The question comes for companies who just started in 2018. What is exceptional or not?
Yeah. Or for employees who change circumstances?
No, that won't. I mean, if you change job and within the company, or even move from one company to the other, the issue will come out of your employment contract. So that's not really the problem. Or unless I misunderstood your question.
I was more, okay, maybe I was probably a bit too specific on my side. Maybe I'll pose you the question later. But it's more just a change of structure from salary from being mostly fixed to now a part that's much more, it's not contractual effectively. And whether that would be considered exceptional income.
No, it will not be considered. My understanding is that it won't be considered exceptional since it is basic of your employment structure or salary structure that has changed. It may not be a written change, although I would recommend it to be written, but then that's another story. I think it won't be considered as exceptional since it is the basis, just the structure of your revenues that has changed.
So I have two questions. One is, so my partner sold a house, a family house that she had. So she sold it last year. So she made profit on the sale. So it's not payroll. So it's kind of exceptional income.
Yes.
So she's going to most probably put it, in her tax region. So I presume she's going to pay taxes on the profit she made on the sale.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Even though she sold it in 2018, so last year?
Well, she is a French resident.
Yeah, she is.
Okay, so she did not sell it to move abroad or anything.
No. That was it.
It was the
small countryside house.
a small countryside.
Sunset.
Okay. Yeah. To be honest, I'm not a fiscal expert on that, but yes, my understanding is that it is an exceptional income.
Okay. Okay, understood. And second question, so the rate which is currently used this year, so it's in January 2019, was the rate calculated based on our income in 2017? Is that correct?
At the moment, yes, until September.
Okay. And so in my case, so I've been employed since end of last year or early January. So basically, but I used to be employed in 2017. So basically, fairly high rate in 2017 and low income as of January. So should I go
I
on to that
think
website?
you should go on the website and tell them, I expect my rate to be much lower.
Okay.
I made such calculation, etc., etc., and I have your rate adjust. Yes.
Okay, cool. Understood. Thank you.
Did I answer all of your questions, or is it so complex that you can't even? Well, thank you everyone for attending. If you have any more questions, don't hesitate. You must have my business card in the presentation, so you have all my contacts. Don't hesitate. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Comment ça